Hey everybody, hope your day is going well. We are back with another reaction. We're going to watch another video on the Weird History YouTube channel. It's a great channel. Check it out. Link is in the description. And, if you want to feel a little bit better about eating junk food, it's great to find out that in the medieval times, people ate some junk food too. I imagine it wasn't like candy or this type of candy or like a cheeseburger or anything, but, you know, it's kind of nice to know, like, oh, we're not the only ones doing this. Hey, let's check out what medieval junk food was like.
Stocking up on chips and Twinkies and hitting the drive-thru for a greasy cheeseburger seemed like
They
modern
didn't have that,
institutions.
I think.
But the world's love affair with junk food is a tale as old as time. A lot of what would become the fast food industry began in medieval Europe, where people satisfied their junk food cravings with some interesting cuisine. But knights weren't exactly galloping their horses through the drive-thru or grabbing candy bars on their way to the castle. Instead, medieval fast food catered to travelers and the poor, and it wasn't always tasty. Today in Weird History, we're taking a look at what junk food was like in the Middle Ages. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel. And while you're there,
Definitely.
leave a comment and let us know what other historical food topics you would like to hear about next. Okay, time to get medieval on those Cool Ranch Doritos. London is a city known for its major landmarks and for being a hub of British culture, as well as being the place where Harry Potter was hatched in Big Ben by owls. During the Middle Ages, London was a center of trade and commerce, but poverty throughout Europe was high, so for many Londoners, it wasn't easy, convenient, or even possible to cook at home. Cooking equipment and fuel weren't exactly cheap. On top of that, the poor were packed into tenement housing that often didn't have any furnishings, let alone a hearth. Without a hearth,
That's a
cooking
tough
was
life.
essentially an unscalable mountain, unless you wanted to fill your home with smoke and risk burning your already meager dwellings to the ground. So people visited cook shops instead, the old-timey equivalent of picking up some takeout. Cook shops sprouted up around the Thames to serve the community's fast food needs. These 24-hour cook shops supplied hot food to tourists and residents alike. They were open every day, with menus that changed depending on the season. But instead of driving through on a chariot or horse, the cook shops offered more of a stroll-through experience. Customers would walk up to the shops to purchase their favorite hot meal. Others would buy
A little meat pie or something, very Sweeney Todd-like, right? Except they put a little bit of human meat in there. That's junk food? What?
what they wanted, then take it home to eat later, because scarfing down a plate of takeout is not always what you want to do in public. Cook shops weren't limited to London.
Definitely
One city
not.
street in Bristol became known as Cook's Row. Bristol's cook shops offered more variety, including poultry and fish, and may have been among the first to subscribe to the adage, "It's the smell that sells." They'd have their hearths outside the shop and would strategically throw food on to cook so that the smell would entice customers over to grab a quick bite. Some shops served sweets. Others were known for their pancakes and bread. But the most popular might have been the shops that sold meat pies.
Oh,
Those
yeah, there it
delicious
is.
meat-based
I knew.
treats were a popular seller.
I
Kind
knew
of
a
like
meat
medieval
pie was gonna enter
hamburger,
the scene.
but without the fries and Coke. Speaking of burgers,
Meat pies
everyone
with the Big
loves
Macs
a Big
in the
Mac.
dark ages.
There's just something about clenching most of the basic food groups in your fist and then horking them down like a
Dude,
snake
oh
smuggling
boy,
dinner
I
through
can't even
airport
look at this.
security.
Ugh.
So it makes sense that meat pies, the dark age version of a drive-in hamburger, were so popular. These savory little hot pockets were filling and portable, the mark of a
Oh, yeah.
blockbuster fast food item. But Mrs. Lovett's signature dish had a dark side.
Hey,
Spoiled
there we go. There we go. I was just mentioning Sweeney Todd, and I mentioned it in another video too. I kind of forgot. I was kind of doing a little bit of an impression. Hopefully nobody saw that one. Oh boy.
of a blockbuster fast food item. But Mrs. Lovett's signature dish had a dark side. Spoiled meat. As it turns out,
Ugh,
rancid ingredients
I'm
could be a
feeling
real
nauseous
problem
already.
in medieval cuisine. According to a 13th century Norwich report, cooks would use diseased pork in their pies
Ugh.
and serve them to customers without batting an eye. It wasn't uncommon for shop owners to warm up days-old spoiled pies instead of wasting them. Poverty
Oh,
was
boy.
extremely desperate, and
I
food
can't.
safety wasn't exactly on the cooks' minds. So the decision whether to heap expired food onto the garbage cart or reheat it and sell it to customers was often disturbingly easy. Probably
get it,
like
though,
it is
but
today,
boy.
if we're being totally honest. When they weren't recycling bad food, shops often undercooked the meat, which earned some cooks a bad reputation. A saying from the time claimed, "God sends the meat, but the devil sends the cooks." Manager at
Really?
Waffle House
That's a
used to
good
say
one.
the same thing. Bread was one of the most common foods during Europe's Castle period, but most
Oh, I
households
love me
didn't have
some
their
bread.
own grain, so they had to buy it from bakers. And while selling ready-made bread was great, bakers could do much more than that for their customers. For example, if someone brought their own meat to the bakery, they could have the baker wrap it in bread and bake it. The idea
Bring your
caught
own
on,
meat.
maybe a little too well. London passed a law in 1350 preventing bakers from charging more than a penny if customers brought their own meat from home. Meanwhile, you bring your own meat to Burger King one time, and they ban you for life. It wasn't like it's a cow. Not sure what the big deal was. Another
What's your grilling fee? What's your grilling fee? Hey. Yeah, well, why not? You know, people used to do that here with fries and stuff, you know, bring their own potatoes and, hey, we want to fry this up.
modern-day fast food item came about around this time too, the bread bowl. Modern Europeans pioneered the concept by serving soup and stews in a bowl made out of bread, which they called trenchers. The
that's a
practice
great
helped
invention.
bulk up a meal and was probably cheaper as it cut down on the need for dishes. But bread bowls weren't the only carb-loading option of the Middle Ages. In addition to being a staple of state fairs and aimless mall wandering, soft pretzels were also incredibly popular in medieval Europe. 3 simple
like a
ingredients
pretzel.
combined to create the twisted treat. Just mix a little bit of water, some flour, and some salt. And you've got yourself a filling snack officially approved by the Catholic Church. That's right. During fasting periods like Lent, when Catholics avoided eating certain animal products, pretzels often took their place as a substitute. Monks
Really?
would hand them out to kids reciting their prayers, while others would distribute them to the poor. Outside of the church, pretzels became a symbol of luck and prosperity. And what's not to feel lucky about when you're chowing down on a handmade pretzel? Nothing completes a
Good
fast
stuff.
food run like a six-pack of booze, because if you're treating yourself, you might as well go all the way. And while drinking alcohol has been a popular activity, medieval Europeans really liked to drink, possibly because they were living in medieval Europe. Not even Lent had any effect on the common
think
folks'
they
thirst
still
for
do.
memory-erasing refreshment. Part of observing Lent meant not eating meat, so folks would fill that gap in their regular diets with other things. Fish became the alternative choice for some, others turned to booze. While it provided temporary solace from abstaining, the practice of staying thoroughly soaked through Lent didn't sit well with some prominent religious figures. In 1400, the Benedictine monk Robert Ripon had strong words for anyone drowning their sorrows. He scolded excessive drinking as flying in the face of the abstinence that Lent was meant to symbolize, and opined that people got more drunk during Lent than they did during the entire rest of the year. Of course, he probably didn't have to eat some of the meat substitutes that commoners were forced to turn to, like the mock egg, a dish that was
Mock
invented as a meat
egg.
replacement during Lent. If he had, he might have been pounding brews in the tavern right beside
What's in the
them.
mock
Making
egg?
a mock egg is easy even today. Just take a few empty eggshells, fill them with a mixture of almond milk jelly and crunchy almonds. Then dye it yellow and choke it down with a mug of ale. Mmm, tasty? Now pass the beer, please.
That's not how they made it, right? That can't be.
Sugar is one of those
Really?
things we take for granted today. But during the medieval period, sugar was pretty hard to come by and was usually out of reach of the masses. Only those who could afford the expensive sweet stuff regularly consumed it. So rather than sugar-filled candy bars, people would flock to the cook shops for treats sweetened with honey. A fritter recipe from the 14th century cookbook Anonimo Veneziano calls for apples, saffron, flour, and honey. An earlier, more frugal fritter recipe
That sounds
was
pretty
just
good,
fried
actually.
dough, stuffed with gingered almonds and topped with a delicious bee juice. Gingerbread, another popular item for satisfying the peasantry's sweet tooth, also used honey, incorporating ginger, cloves, and pepper, giving it an inimitable sweet and spicy flavor. But when you're in the mood to throw money at a cholesterol spike, there's nothing quite like the funnel cake, a delicious
I
combo
never
of fried
had it.
dough and
I think. Wait a sec. I don't think I've ever had. We don't really have that here in Europe and Belgium. I don't think so. This is from medieval Europe. Well, it didn't survive, but I know it's very popular in the U.S., like in theme parks and stuff, and fairs. Right? I've seen it so many times. It looks so good. We don't really have them. Ooh, I want to eat it.
powdered sugar, the mother of all carnival foods, got its start
Carnival,
in medieval
yeah.
times.
Really?
Funnel cakes began as fried cakes called crisps. Because of their sugary topping, the cakes were a rare treat. Since ingredients like sugar was so limited, people would often improvise their own recipes, which is how we got dishes like fritter of milk, which is just fried, sweetened cottage cheese, otherwise known as a dessert you give your kids when you want to punish them. Waffles, as we know them, also came about during this
Well,
time.
we do
The
know how to
original
make waffles in
date back
Belgium.
to ancient Greece. Known as ovelios, they were flat cakes cooked between two plates, and they weren't sweet. which is a huge oversight that arguably contributed to Greece's downfall. Later, the Catholic Church began making flour waffle wafers, which typically depicted biblical scenes. But it wasn't until the Crusades when a more recognizable version of waffle batter, combining cinnamon, honey, and cream, really took off in Europe. And in the 15th century, the Dutch invented the famous grid patterns that transformed waffles into the optimal syrup and whipped cream delivery systems.
What an
celebrated by
invention.
junk food
We have the Dutch to
connoisseurs
thank for this?
centuries
All right, I'll
later.
give it up to him.
Initially, waffles were a common street food, but would eventually become the breakfast and dessert staple we fling into toasters to this
still
day.
a street food
Thanks
over
to
here.
the discovery of the New World, sugar became affordable and accessible to everyone by the 16th century. London even opened a sugar refinery, prompting a trend that continues in modern food processing today, adding sugar to almost everything. Sugar quickly replaced honey in most desserts. People began crystallizing their fruit in syrups, and even started using sugar to season their meats. If you cover a plate of fish and vegetables with enough sugar, eventually it tastes just like sugar, which was a welcome respite for poverty-stricken families accustomed to eating rotten meat pies. Sugary
yeah,
concoctions became popular junk foods during the period, including crispy crusts topped with berries, fruit, or ginger, and a sweet fruit-filled ravioli called Cuscanoles. Cuscanoles is just a good name. You can picture that on a
Cuscanole.
Hostess wrapper next to a mascot, like the Cuscanoles Kid. This love of sweetness transformed the European diet to such a degree that the word dessert can even be traced back to this time. Derived from the French word desservir, meaning to clear the table, the French were using it to mean last course by the mid-16th century. The English later adapted dessert to refer to the final course of fruits and sweets that people ate after their meal. The Cuscanoles Kid would be proud. So what do you think? Would you be willing to try some junk food from the Dark Ages? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from our weird history.
Yeah. Well, not the spoiled meat pies, but some of the sweet stuff sounded pretty good. That fried goodness with sugar on top or honey, saffron. Yeah, I'll take some of that. It would be a lot of carbs in the medieval. To find good protein, that's a tough one. That was hard, but to find some carbs, that was a little bit easier as far as I could tell. And now if I'm going to eat a pretzel, I'm going to feel connected to medieval times. Wow. We learned a few things. And I want to eat a funnel cake. Here at carnivals and fairs in Belgium, what's popular besides like waffles and stuff is what we call smotebollen or oliebollen, which is basically, if you translate it literally to English, it's oil balls. Sounds great, huh? It's kind of like a beignet. There must be an English name for it. I don't know. But it's really delicious, also topped with powdered sugar, especially good in wintertime, when you're at the fair and you eat this hot stuff. Oh, yeah. And churros are kind of making their way to Europe as well. I don't know if they're actually the same in terms of taste, because it's very big in America, right? North and South America, I think. Even Spain. Spain is pretty good for churros too, with the chocolate sauce. Yeah, let's go. Did it originate in Spain? Probably. Thank you for spending some time with me. Now I'm hungry and I need something to eat. See you in the next one. Peace.